Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Next Issue podcast. Today,
Love it.
we have a great show on stack. We are going to be talking about the Batman, and we have a very special guest. So let me introduce Mike Rapin from the I Read Comic Books podcast.
What's up, guys? Thanks for
Hey.
having me on the show.
Hey, thanks for coming, man.
I'm really excited. I just rewatched the Batman, and I'm very hyped to talk
I
about
wanted
it.
to have a special guest to commemorate the occasion.
I did rewatch it last night. Can I just say, Cesar Romero's The Joker is really good.
Yeah.
I love his stash under the all.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nothing better than caked on makeup over a mustache.
No. It is.
I know those guys from what was it? I don't remember the name of their channel, but I know they did their what if Adam West was in the Batman trailer, which was amazing. We watched it online. But I mean, they were not the first ones to come up with that idea, right?
The hell are you supposed to be? I'm vengeance.
We've had those for a few weeks, so
that only improves that scene. All right, only improves it. Did you see Matt Reeves retweeted that video? By the way,
yeah.
So yeah, it was good.
I think the name of the channel is The Corridor on YouTube. Go check it out. We did our reaction video, and we got a bunch of views out of that too. So thank them. So yeah, we're gonna get full spoilers for the Batman. If you haven't seen it by now, you just aren't trying hard enough, because you can watch it at the theaters. If you don't want to go to the theaters, you can watch it on HBO Max. You can rent it. You can buy it.
Danny will give you his HBO Max login. I mean, it's really impossible to not see it.
They're cracking down on that. We can't go advertising that stuff.
Yeah, we need to stop being so. What do you mean? I have 3 households, and none of them. Only one of them is in Texas.
Wow, Danny just laying out the total income of your entire life. I love it.
That's right. So yeah, I don't even know how to get into this, but I do first.
Well, I dropped a trailer in there. There's a link in the show notes of a trailer, a side-by-side comparison of the Batman versus 7.
Okay, we can start with that. But before that, I do, not to bring down the show too much, but there is a bit of news that came out this week, unfortunately.
Yes.
Neil Adams passed away at the age of 80. And I don't think we would get a movie like this without the work that him and Danny O'Neill did on Batman and the series.
Oh, definitely.
So
excellent point.
Yeah, we're gonna dedicate this show to Neil. Hopefully, everyone in his family and everyone, they're doing all right. We'll definitely have a Neil Adams just specific show in the future. I think we want to make sure we prepare and just go over all the stuff. It's a lot to cover. Like, once you start digging down into Neil's career, not just in the comics, but what he did outside of stuff. And if you ever met him at a convention, like, the dude was a character.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, like later on, yeah, sure, charge me for the books. You worked hard enough this whole time to like charge me for an autograph. I don't mind. Right?
Shelby said that was one of the few shocking things she saw at a con was me dropping $300 for his omnibus. And she's just like, I just did it unblinking, and he signed that. He drew a Batman in it, and also signed an album that he drew like way back in the day. That's kind of hard to get a copy of. So I've got that album. I did have to pay for that autograph though.
On the album.
After
dropping 300 for the omnibus.
Yes, I still had to drop.
Right.
I still had to drop another 25 for his. Album.
That's some math.
Yeah, but yeah. So we're gonna we'll do that later. I think today, to start with, we do have that trailer that Clay talked about. This is gonna be great for the audio podcast listeners. If you want to see the whole episode, you can go check it out on YouTube. Because I'll probably cut this part out of the audio. But
close your eyes and imagine a beautiful scene that is terrifying and horrible.
Exactly. Oh, I'll add the link. Yeah, they can just watch along, like commentary. People do that, I think.
Yeah.
Shout out to my colleague Cameron, who asked where the audio podcast was. So Cameron, I'm going to make this accessible. All right. Afterwards, I'll go in and add all of the accessibility information.
Cool. All right. So let's check. Oh, hold on. Let me make sure I share the audio. Otherwise, you guys are going to be like, well, this isn't good content.
Danny's gonna make us guess as to what they're saying. Well, actually, the idea is we're gonna watch it and then we're gonna do like the "Whose Line Is It Anyway" style, where we're watching the video and then making the noise ourselves, so that it's really interactive for everyone on the call.
Well, I don't know, man. I'm no Wayne Brady.
I thought I was Wayne Brady. Okay, all right.
People will question why my sound effect for punches are fart sounds, but go ahead, it's fine.
Here's the side by side for segment the Batman. Huh.
I mean, the timing's right, but I think that this is just general trailer timing, right?
I'm your secret friend.
Yeah.
But kind of the shots that they're using.
Who?
I hope we don't get taken down by Nirvana.
Oh, what?
Yeah. I mean, the flashlights. I mean, their chemistry together.
Having a
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Just
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, this is,
Yeah.
this is blatant.
Does this mean anything to you?
Huh. Brad Pitt
Oh
is
my
Batman.
God.
Interesting.
Wow.
No way.
This is great.
You're becoming quite a celebrity.
No way.
No.
Why is he writing to you?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
You are justice.
Even the red. Oh my.
Even the red, yeah.
What is the price for your blind eye?
The hell are you supposed to be?
No, they slowed that down.
I'm
Yeah.
vengeance.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that scene was in the trailer.
Whoa! This guy's crazy.
No.
Unbelievable. There's no way.
You're part of this too.
Even.
How am I part of it? You'll see.
Oh, okay, the last part is not. Okay.
That last. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, wait.
See, some of
Go
this
ahead,
is
Mike.
just general trailer cutting, right? Because like there is a cadence to a lot of trailers. Like you could probably put this up against a Saw or any other kind of thriller movie, and you'd probably get a lot of the same beats. But the reds, the like gunshot, like that is intentional.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone cut this trailer specifically to be like, "Hey, remember Seven? Remember how good that movie was? We're gonna do something like that." At least it
Well, I mean,
wasn't them
there's
trying to compare to the Zodiac movie, right?
Yeah,
Right,
there's
right.
even more stuff. I mean, there's more scenes in the Batman that are reminiscent when they start going through his room and his journals and everything. You know, there are other shots in there that are right out of Seven that could be.
Oh, yeah.
added.
Yeah, that me stumbling on the reveal of them going through the notebooks last week by just being like, "Oh, is it filled with notebooks?" and a tiny little, and you and Dan were both like,
Yeah, we didn't want to spoil it for you, but we didn't want to tell you were right. But
"Yeah, exactly."
I felt like that was the trigger. Once you knew it was like Seven, and you kind of knew the way the Kevin Spacey character might be the way the Riddler is. You were more intrigued.
Yeah,
because he was no Jim Carrey. I mean, I read a couple.
Thank God.
I mean, I read a couple of old Riddler, and when the Riddler dropped in the '90s, man, that was the tone they went for. Was that kind of ridiculous Jim Carrey character? You know, he was just more silly. And in here, I'm just Team Riddler, man. He's just fighting for everyone that isn't rich.
Well, I will say though, we had a good example in the '90s of a Riddler that was not the Jim Carrey, and that was in the animated series. He was great in that, and I think when they were going to transfer him to live action, I know at least me, I was like, oh, please do the animated series Riddler, right? Like this like brilliant psychopath who's super suave. And no, we got Jim Carrey instead. So sorry, Mike, I cut you off. You're going to go in a completely different direction. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, I mean, like there's an argument to be made that the Riddler, he rides the same line as Batman, but like I think the point of the whole movie is that, you know, maybe we're in full spoiler territory at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the whole point of the movie being that Batman was doing things the wrong way. Like he didn't necessarily need to be this violent, you know, aggressor, because this is what that actually begets is you get 500 people with assault rifles and following this like cult like behavior. And that's not what Batman wanted to be. Right. I think it's funny because the Nolan movies almost touch on that in the third Nolan movie, where you get all the guys dressed up as Batman. Was that the second or the third one? I can't remember.
One, yeah.
Like when you get all the Batman guys, they're like following this cult of the Batman. He's like, I don't want you to do this, or whatever Christian Bale said. You know, but like I appreciated that Reeves took it in a different direction to say that Batman started and then the Riddler kind of was like, oh, this guy gets what I'm trying to do, so I can go a little bit further. And you know, of course, the whole bit that they're working together is probably, in my mind, it was an incredible twist that I didn't see coming because I'm just not picking up on what the movie's putting down. But I loved how that all played out. And yeah, to see, I don't know, I feel like I had a point about the Riddler and I lost it, but like ultimately I felt like he wasn't as right as the Riddler was. He was completely wrong, right? Like his idea to solve things by just murdering people and causing violence to show them the wrong of their ways, like not the right way to go about things, even though that's exactly what Batman was doing to a certain extent.
And Riddler's motivations were out of like pure self-interest and self-hatred or the hatred from stuff that happened to him personally, as opposed to trying to actually better Gotham or expose, you know, corruption and all that. He was motivated by all the wrongdoings on that happened to him. And I've told you guys, I don't read a lot of books, but I listened to the prequel book, and I recommend it a lot because you get to learn about Riddler from growing up till right before the movie, and also Bruce Wayne on the other side. So you kind of see there's similar paths. Obviously, one's a poor orphan, one's a rich orphan, one's in the limelight, one's like just trying to get people to leave him alone. But you learn a lot about his motivations and how that came to be, and it really builds a lot of insight. It's really good after watching the movie. I don't think you would get as much out of the book before because you don't know how these characters end up being.
Well, you only get one scene with Paul Dano kind of explaining it. And I think the line that should stick with everyone is every winter a baby dies because it's so cold there. Like just knowing that as a child growing up, that every winter that's going to happen, that you remember it as an adult, just seems so twisted and broken.
Yeah. I think also what's fascinating about pairing the two of them together and ultimately getting to that point where the reveal at the end is, oh, they kind of come from the same place, right? Is that the Riddler's motivation is very individual. I was harmed, I'm going to fix this. And Batman's is the same, except he can explain it away by, I'm making the city better for everyone. Right, but really, he's trying to help himself. I mean, let's call a spade, and it's a fascinating way to go about it. I was really like, as the movie progresses, I think it did, and I need to go back and rewatch it to see if I was just deluded at the time or just so happy that the movie was good. But it seemed to do a good job of like building up to a point where you keep thinking, you know, as Batman investigates and is solving the mystery, you think you know where it's going, and then it keeps diverting a little bit, you know? And that's my only complaint about the original trailer, maybe the second one, is they have that shot of Bruce like figuring stuff out by spray painting on the floor, which, come on, why is that a good idea? I mean, don't spray paint the floor, man. Right? He has that whole like sins of the father comment, right? And it's like, that's kind of a big reveal right there. So I don't know.
Well, whose father, though? I mean, we don't know in the trailer who they're talking about.
Yeah, we go around El Rata so many times in the movie, we don't know who it is.
Right.
I know they have a conversation at the funeral where mayoral candidate Bea Real, she brings up to Bruce like, you could be doing a lot more for the city.
Yeah,
through Bruce by being Bruce Wayne, and I think Alfred makes a similar point. And it's that
he says something at the end that he has to change.
Yeah,
and I think I think he realizes that Bruce is part of that. So I think we're going to see a real big transformation in the second film, unless there is a twist and we go back to see, because it would be really neat to see them go back and tell the Joker story, why the Joker's in there.
Austin in the chat, don't watch the trailers, but how am I going to make reaction videos in, Austin?
Yeah, that is a fair point, Austin. I did only watch the first trailer, and then I stopped.
No.
So
yeah, I did.
I do stop at the TV spots. I feel like this Doctor Strange movie is like, hey, here's the whole movie on the TV spots now.
Well, they've got.
I have not watched those at all.
Yeah,
Again, I watched the first trailer and I stopped. So
the thing about the Marvel movies is at this point, it's because of how like done the first phase or whatever of Marvel is, they really have to sell people on the next wave of Marvel, because we're getting rid of all of the mainstays. And so like, how do you sell a mediocre Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange in a movie when the first, and hey, hear me out. I like the first one, but Benedict Cumberbatch is so weird. The way that he speaks with his American accent is so weird.
It is odd. It is odd.
And I can feel people, I can see people just complain and be like, you know what, the movie was interesting, but I just can't stand the way this guy talks. Like, story's good, the portrayal's good, but like, he's just weird. And I get that. I feel odd about it. Like, even just watching Spider-Man No Way Home, like, I was like, man, this guy's just kind of weird. I don't know how else to put it.
I guess I've just accepted his accent as Marvel accent.
Sure.
I totally agree with you, but I feel like Marvel missed an opportunity where if there was ever an actor and a character where they could say, you know what, we're just going to make him British. And fans have been like, yeah, that's fine. Right? Yeah. Like, it would not have been the Keanu Reeves Constantine thing all over again in reverse. You know, it would have been like, yeah, sure, he's British. It's Benedict Cumberbatch. The dude can speak anything, and I'm going to listen to him. So
I want to just attention, Mike. First of all, you just, whenever we end up doing Multiverse of Madness, you're very welcome to come back. And it will probably be like when it finally hits Disney Plus, so everybody can watch it. So it'll be for a while.
I think we're going to the theater for this one. Shelby is really trying to find a day off.
We'll figure it out. But I do want to point out, Austin has two comments in the chat. One, first week, he comes on my boy Pattinson by saying he can't do anything but emo. But
okay, fine.
But then when
you're wrong.
when Cumberbatch is attacked, so that's how I feel when you say that, Austin.
I'm glad to know you're a Cumberbatch fan.
I will say I thought the whole cast in the Batman was fantastic. Everybody just nailed it. Zoe Kravitz, Pattinson. I was a little worried that they were going to do a severe injustice to Gordon, because for the first third of that movie, he is basically Dr. Watson. He is just like asking dumb questions so Pattinson can answer. But
Batman can't read, actually. He has he needs Gordon to read all the cards.
Right, exactly. But by the halfway point, he starts coming to his own. And the moment that nailed it for me is when they're going, I think, into the orphanage, and he pulls out his gun, and Batman's like, no guns. Like, hey, that's your rule. Right? He just keeps walking. I was like, there we go. That's Gordon. Right? So
one of my favorite introductions. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
The moment that got me for Gordon is the moment in the cop in the precinct where he comes and he's like, "Hey man, we got to do this." Like that to me is top tier moments in the entire movie. Like that whole scene is fantastic. But
I will agree with you. That was what made me so excited for Jeffrey Wright to play Gordon, is because in that whole scene, the thing I love is if you watch his body language versus what they're saying, his body language is clearly presenting this is an antagonistic conversation we're having. He leans in a bit aggressively. It's so good. It's so good. I was so excited by that. So
there was good on-screen chemistry between the two of them when it wasn't like, hey Batman, what should we do? You know, when it wasn't that, and they actually got to interact. Like even the simple of, hey, I thought you turned that light on. Like that feels like there's this clearly established relationship between the two of them, and I think both Pattinson and Wright really nailed the believability of the two of them having been working together since Batman became a thing. Like Gordon clearly believes in him, and they've been working together, and he keeps vouching for him. It's fantastic.
And this is year 2. We know from his journal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from his long journaling. I do want to talk about probably my favorite introduction, and maybe the first line spoken by a character that just really nails who they are.
Whoa, take it easy, sweetheart.
I fucking love Colin Farrell, and I'm pretty sure this is the first line we hear from him in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that sequence. In my notes, I have Batman just walks into the iceberg lounge part 1 because it's not the only time it happens in the movie.
It happens 3 times.
Oh, dude, that bit does not get old.
No. I was trying to tell someone about that because I was having a conversation with another group on Discord, and they were just, I was raving about how good the movie is, and someone was like, I just really didn't like it. And I was like, all right, here's the thing. This is not a Batman that is going to fly down from the shadows and kick your butt. He's going to walk up to a door, knock on it, and then or slowly step out of the shadows, right? He's not this like supernatural creature. He is a dude in a suit. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was, I think throughout the movie, those are the moments that stuck out to me the most, is that Batman shines when he's detectiving, to make up a word. Mm-hmm. And when he does the gadget stuff, it often fails, right? Like, to me, the 2 key moments are when he leaps off the GDP building, right? And he does the gliding stuff, and then he's like, okay, and he pops out the parachute, and then he like hits the overpass and just like falls, right?
Yeah. So I have gadget stuff here.
Which, okay, that's
like,
go
you
ahead,
said, one of the moments that I was not expecting.
I love that so much because people keep using the word "this is realistic." I would say this is grounded, right? Yeah. He is a Batman with new tech, figuring stuff out. To me, the key moment is that very first time the Batmobile shows up, and you get this big build-up, and it goes boom, and it just like fails, and then the Penguin takes off. He's like, "Oh, his car's not working," and I laughed my ass off during that moment. I was like, that is such a good move, right?
Danny's got clips for everything. What the heck?
It's so good.
I had to break him up.
He came prepared.
Up for YouTube. Yeah,
right.
But I agree, Josh. Also, the scene where he's gliding down is so much longer. I couldn't put it all in because then we'll definitely get kicked off of the stream. But he gets in there, like after he grapples up, he stops, he looks down, and he's legitimately scared of like, oh shit, this is way higher than I thought.
Now there is an example from the book Ego where he has the exact same shot from the comic where he climbs to the top of a building, very similar, and it's done by Darwin Cook, and for this same scene where he climbs to the top of the building.
I'm looking.
I was gonna say it should be in the Google Slides. But that I know that Ego was another book that influenced this movie a lot. So,
and that's the thing that makes this movie feel grounded. It makes it feel like this is a different type of Batman story because for once we're actually getting a Batman who's not the top of his game. Like even Bale's Batman, like even Val Kilmer, George Clooney, all those guys, like they're Batman at the top of their game. Whereas this is clearly like year 2 Batman. And even if you read the comics, like early Batman in the comics, I feel like he's even kind of like a badass and he's got all this stuff together. Whereas this, he's still working kinks out after 2 years of doing this night after night after night, to the point where Alfred is like, you're going to die if you keep working at this pace. It blows my mind. I mean, and to go back to the journal thing, like that's why he has the journal, because his memory's so borked up from all these concussions. Like, he needs to write this stuff down. That's why he's got backups. He's not only writing things down, he's recording everything that he's doing with his eyes, because one, how do you become the best detective ever? You have redundancies for all your data so that you can go back and study things Sherlock Holmes style, so you can see things from different angles and yada yada yada. Like it's it's really smart the way that they did this to show that this guy is not only extremely terrifying because he's violent, but also he's just not good at this yet. He's not the brightest bulb. He can't even figure out all the Riddler stuff, Riddler stuff. Like, that's my favorite part, is in the end, the Riddler's like, oh, you didn't get this. You're not as smart as I thought you were. We love a villain who is smarter than the hero, because it creates so much more tension and drama in the story than Batman having figured everything out. Like, I think this movie would have sucked if Batman was on top of everything from the get-go. I absolutely love that.
Oh, man.
I mean, that was the one thing I put questions in the notes for, is what each director has done to Batman. And I feel like this one has grounded him and shown that he's not perfect. And I think we need to know that, because we've always expected Batman to be able to solve everything, do everything in these stories. But in the end, we want to see a character push through, see what's missing. Like when he goes to save the people in the flood, he lights the flare and realizes that there is no hope for these people. And it's about to get more hopeless, and that he needs to be.
So wow, you really are prepared, Daniel.
Yeah, it was kind of the best Superman moment we've had in a DC movie in decades.
Oh, good point. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Well, I mean, and it's a changing moment in that scene. Just really quick, is that like you get like this beautiful visual metaphor of like Batman realizes he can't hide in the shadows. He has to lead people. Like, come on, like it's so blatant and in your face, and so good at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really so good.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about Reeves, is he's very good at throwing in the blatant stuff and kind of tweaking it a bit so that it works. It doesn't feel just crass, you know.
It's not ham-fisted into the story.
Yeah,
the flare scene works because when he turns it on and he's trying to help the first person, and they're all apprehensive about taking help from him. Initially, but then they realize that he's probably their only hope, which is kind of what he just realized too. He's Gotham's only hope, right? He switches from vengeance to hope in that moment of the flare. So I think that's why that works. I think Matt Reeves is really good at making sure that it's easy to understand. Like, there may be very straightforward points, but they don't feel like they're being dumbed down for an audience. It just feels like a natural conversation, which, I mean, it's what makes his movies. And I love that scene with the flare, like the whole thing. And then the shot from above that I showed, like leading them out of the water. And
the first person he helps out of the water, I think you were going to say this, is the kid, is the mayor's son. Like Bruce Wayne helping younger himself, like get out of this thing. Like Batman can finally help young Bruce Wayne. Like it's like boom, boom, hitting you over the head with story beats in metaphor, right?
Which had been set up in the first scene when the kid when he sees the kid in the crime scene, and then the kid looks back at him, and then once again at the funeral, but he's Bruce Wayne.
When he saves him.
And I feel like that scene at the funeral is super important, because I feel like other directors, probably notably Schumacher most of all, would have, if they had incorporated that scene where Bruce Wayne saves the kid, it would have become a story point later on. Bruce Wayne saves child, like that whole thing. And here it's just, he is doing what's right. He runs over, he saves the kid. It's never brought up again, right? But to your point, there are those three moments. There's the one at the beginning where he sees the kid as Batman and realizes this kid's basically a proxy for him. There's the moment of the funeral where it's Bruce Wayne, he saves him, but he has to save him as Batman, right? He has to come full circle. My only minor complaint is I wanted more Alfred, and I wanted more of the other mayoral candidate. Like, I feel like she becomes such an important part at the end that it felt like it's like, okay, if she's going to anchor the end of the movie, we need a little bit more of her throughout, more than just like on posters in the background. So, and I know Daniel's doing this. I assume there's a deleted scene I didn't watch.
I don't. No. I was right. Too.
No, I totally agree with you there, because I think that we should have gotten one more scene with her, like early in the movie, so that we could have established it, because we got her on screen, right? We got her in the debate in the background, but I wish that there had been. I mean, overall, there should have been. I wish there was more Bruce Wayne in the movie, but I guess that's the point: is that Bruce Wayne just doesn't exist in the public eye. So I have a feeling she's going to be way more important in whatever sequels they end up doing. She's going to be crucial in making sure that Bruce Wayne gets out there. Very similar to like the old like the Val Kilmer or whoever, I don't remember the movie where Christopher Walken's in it, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Batman Returns, yeah.
Yeah, Batman Returns. Yeah. So, like, I feel like there's going to be more scenes like that where the mayor's trying to get Bruce Wayne to come out and do stuff. And now that she's in charge, like, she's going to have way more influence in trying to, like, show up at his house and be more involved. Be like, Bruce Wayne, you have all this money. Please help the city, you know? Like, it's totally there. I think they're just laying the groundwork for it, because this movie, as much as those types of things were probably wanted, I think it's gonna feel more natural once this trilogy or septal, whatever WB wants to do with this property, right? When that wraps up, we're gonna be like, oh, it's good that we got this whole movie where they planted a bunch of seeds, and then we get to see them pay off, rather than trying to just shove everything into one movie as if there's never gonna be a sequel or a third movie and stuff.
I also want to give props to the fact that, and I kept thinking this as I was watching it, this movie has the best realized Gotham since Batman 89.
Yep.
Like, I mean, when you think about the egregious mistakes that, like, Nolan made, where every film Gotham feels a little different, and it plays such a big part in the last film. Mm-hmm. I don't even want to talk about the fact that Snyder makes Gotham, like, across the bay from Metropolis. I'm still pissed off about that. I'm still mad.
All of the DC universe and Snyder's universe takes place in, like, this small, like, 20-mile radius, right?
Exactly.
But everything happened in New York in Marvel. It's cool. Okay, I got it. Yeah.
No. Ant-Man's in California.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna go watch a real good movie. I'll be back.
You got 4 hours to spare.
But this Gotham felt so real and real in a way where you kept seeing little snippets of it again. So it didn't feel like a stage set, which is, as much as I love Gotham in 89, it feels very stage setty, which is okay, right?
If you take Batman out of this, complete set is like a neo-noir set, though. I mean, that's the thing is, if you could take the superhero element out of it, it's still neo-noir.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love to. Oh, good, Mike. Sorry.
I was that Gotham Square, right? Like, I can't get over how beautiful the Forks, or whatever they call that area. I think it's probably called the Forks, because that's what every big Gothic city has, a section that's like that. But, like, the big Times Square style thing where there's just all these visual elements, like, it's absolutely fantastic. Like, every shot that they showed of the city, like, it's constantly raining, so it's Seattle, but it's also the East Coast in some way. But, like, it's always raining. There's train tracks running everywhere. Like, it's
Chicago, the L. Yeah,
it feels like Chicago. It feels like New York. It feels like the bad parts of Jersey. It feels like every element that would make, like, a congested city even more congested. And then you add the broken downness of the Renewal Project on top of all of that, where there's just constant construction. Like, it's fantastic, and it's a character in and of itself. I think we probably say this about every Batman movie, but I truly felt like, of all of the Batman movies after 89, like, this one really made Gotham into a thing that's super important to the city, because you couldn't do this same story in Nolan's Batman, right? Like, Nolan's Gotham, right? You couldn't do this in any of the other Batman Gothams, maybe the Tim Burton one, but again, it's more set piece, more theatrical versus, like, a city that could be lived in.
Yeah, I totally agree. And in fact, what sucks is, if memory serves, Nolan tried to tell this story in Batman Begins. Mm-hmm. And then Gotham just even Wayne Mansion just keeps changing over the course of those movies. It's like,
well, they did burn down Wayne Mansion, and
all right, true. That's fair. Also, can I just say how much I love Reeves's reinterpretation of the Batcave here?
Yeah,
like, Wayne Tower is where they live, and so he has to go through the city to get to it.
I know, and it's like an abandoned Wayne subway station. I mean, it's like that's the cave. It's it's so good. It's so good.
But I mean, you got to take the orphan that lives in the tower and show the underneath, and so that.
I didn't even realize that. And he says that,
like, you're living underground. You're living under the city. You feel so sheltered from everything that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and did anyone else feel like the Wayne orphanage was meant to look like Wayne Mansion?
It
So
was.
kind
Oh,
It
yeah.
was. They
It
donated,
was.
they
But see,
donated Wayne
I missed
Mansion
that.
to
Okay.
like, the orphanage. So that's why he moved that to Wayne Tower.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
That-
Waynes had moved to the tower.
I'm telling
Yeah,
you,
see,
dude.
Danny's got the book.
You
They had
gotta read
moved
the
to the
book.
tower, and when they moved to the tower, they used the old mansion as an orphanage. Which I do want to say, like, I love the idea of Bruce Wayne living in the middle of Gotham. Like, it makes so much more sense than him living way on the outskirts, because if anything happens, that bag signal goes up, all he's got to do is go down an elevator and he's in the middle of the city. Like, what a genius choice by Reeves to change things like that. I think that makes way more sense in general for Batman. Like, it's so stupid to have him in a mansion on the outskirts of Gotham, even with a super fast jet engine car. Like, everyone would know where you live, dude. Every single person would know where Batman lives.
Well, and Mike, I hadn't even thought of this until you just said it, but that construct sets up the classic idea of Batman standing on top of a building surveying Gotham, right?
Totally.
But instead of him in the suit standing on top of a building, he lives in Wayne Tower. I mean, that's just where he is. So
he has purview of the whole city of Gotham, even when he's out of costume. Yeah.
Even in the movie, they address this, and this is something that I really like. He's always just at night, he's just walking around with his jacket and the backpack, which at this point I've seen the movie enough times to like really have a good, like, I can really make a case for, like, he's always wearing the bat suit or carrying it in his backpack. He's always got the face paint on, because that's what he was talking about, right? He's just the person in the shadows at night that's how he gets to places so quickly. He's got like motorbike stash kind of in key points in the in throughout the city, or at least throughout the downtown area where he's patrolling close to the signal. He's always walking around with that just kind of combat whatever jacket thing, which it's a really neat parallel to Riddler once you realize that they're both kind of blending in that, or at least hiding their identity through that. But he's definitely always, like, I love the memes of like the bat signal goes on and then Bruce Wayne has to go put on his eyeliner before going out, right? But I think this movie explains it away by saying that he doesn't, he always has it on, like it's just under his hat. He's always nobody really pays attention to it. I know it sounds heavy to carry the whole thing, but I think he may have it stashed, or like it's always ready for him to put on, because I think there's no scene in the movie where he's not too far away from being Batman immediately. I
can think of one, and that is at the funeral. So he shows up at that in like full suit. He doesn't have the eye makeup on, so he's got to find a way to, and he's not carrying anything. So how does he transform into Batman and walk back into that?
He comes back like hours later, though.
Yeah, if you
that's hours later. Okay, see, I did not realize that.
It's hard to tell time because it's always overcast in Gotham.
Exactly.
The funeral starts during the day.
This is the thing I want to say about the weather really quick. I was like, how is it always rainy? The whole movie takes place over like 7 days or 9 days, right?
5 days.
5 days. Oh. So like, imagine, I don't know, you guys live in Texas. I live in, I live in New Jersey. So like, and I grew up in Michigan. Right around that time every year, it's always overcast and rainy, like without fail. So like, it's strangely believable that you would have like 5 days of overcast, maybe one sunny day, but then the rest are like overcast and rainy. And like thinking about it now, I'm like, you know what? That's actually doesn't not make sense. It totally actually makes sense. I'm kind of mad at how much it makes sense actually.
Seattle listeners, let us know. I mean, you guys probably get a couple of days of rain like that. Probably weeks at a time. So
But to your point, Danny, like the overcast thing, like it takes place like he's there, and then like the sun does go down, because when he comes back, it's darker, like overall, so they can come out of the shadows and have that cool moment. That is,
I totally missed that, because I think I paused it during that scene and had to go like do something else and came back later.
I feel like a funeral should take place maybe around noon or something, like for an important figure like that.
And it was during the day.
I would think it's a few hours while they clear out the scene, make sure, because they take the time to get the bomb robot too to come in. So I think that gives enough time for Bruce to, go pick up his car from the valet, which he seems to be a great tipper. He carries cash, which is weird.
He definitely gave that guy like $200 or something.
He doesn't even have Alfred put in he's got a little thing in his suit that's just tip money.
Right. He pulls out a wad of cash. He's like, how much could a valet cost? $100? Like,
Exactly.
I have no idea. It's in the pouch right next to the lollipops. So as they established in the comics recently.
That's right. I
I
do.
oh
Go ahead,
good.
Josh, because I want to talk about someone else, but maybe you have one last point here.
Well, I do. I want to applaud Reeves and also Pattinson because he's key to this in the fact that this is a Batman who doesn't appear by crashing in through, windows or anything. He walks slowly out of the shadows, right? He does it in the first scene. He does it in the funeral scene. It's like that's how he emerges, and I love. It's almost like he is like a shadow in Gotham, and he will just emerge when he needs to. It's such a nice effect that we haven't really seen in films before.
Well, and I really like the kind of it's a different take on the opening sequence from The Dark Knight after the bank robbery, not the first scene exactly, but there's a drug deal going on, and the signal's on, right? And the dude's just like, nah, I don't like tonight. Like all that stuff, it's the same because you see the little drop head dude, he's robbing the store, and he goes outside and he just looks at an empty hallway, dark black, whatever the street or an alleyway. And
changes
that's the
his mind
same
about
shot
going down that street.
Yeah, that's the same shot that horror directors use so much, right? Just that staring into the void.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's for like criminals. Just think, oh shit, what if Batman comes out of there, like in it? And I think we get 2 fake outs, and then we get the real one where he actually comes out in the tracks, which is a really badass way to introduce Batman.
Dude, I don't think we're gonna ever get a better Batman open. I like Dark Knight is up there as one of the coolest openings to a movie in the last 20 years, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think we're ever going to get a better superhero movie opening than this one, hands down. There's no way you top nailing exactly what Batman is in any other way. It's unparalleled.
And I'll just say Reeves pulls the same trick that Burton pulled in '89, and I adored it, which is as it begins, the way that scene is set up, you're sitting there thinking, oh, it's Thomas Wayne and little baby Bruce, right? In the same way that in Batman '89, you get the family walking through Gotham and like, let's just go down the alley. You're like, oh crap, here we go, right? And it's not, it's something else. I love how he did that. So
and also I like the parallel once again to The Dark Knight, which is like we have a scene to introduce the villain first. Right? We get that bank sequence with the Joker, then we get the murder scene with the Riddler in this one, and then we actually introduce Batman after that, which Nolan did in the second movie because he hadn't even set up Batman in the first one. But I like that this one we don't need an origin. This is not a Batman origin story,
right?
This is just like year 2 where we are, and we're gonna go from there. Like we've seen Batman enough times, we've seen his parents die enough times in media. We don't need to see it again unless Zack Snyder's shooting it. Then I'll watch it again. But other than that.
But it's not ignored is the thing, not, right? It plays a key part to the whole story. So
I do have to commend Matt Reeves for not saying pearls at one point in this movie. Like I just gotta shout out to that. Like I haven't read a Batman comic in the last decade where someone didn't bring it up in their storyline. So shout out to Reeves for not mentioning it.
I can't wait because I remember the reports that there was like this movie originally was before they started editing, they had a 4-hour cut of this thing, which I can't wait for my Blu-ray to get home to see. Like just look through all those. I mean, if that deleted scene that we saw from the conversation with Joker and Batman, if that was a deleted scene, because I think it would have taken a lot away from the movie, so I'm glad it's not in the movie.
It would have removed all the emphasis, I think, of the later scene with the Riddler, as far as I'm concerned.
So I'm glad it wasn't there, but I also want to see what else did Matt Reeves want. Like, what other stories could have they been telling? I'm sure. I hope there was a lot more with, and this is a good place to kind of segue. Just more so with Catwoman, because she was great. I love Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, she was.
I love how like I was watching it, I was like, oh, year 1, cool.
Exactly.
Those are the clothes she wears to kill Falcone, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean that's almost
I think so.
Minus the wig.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. And then the wig, there's a scene in the comic too where she puts on a wig and like very similar. So it's
very similar. It's like the pink or the purple one, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that mask personally. I feel like it really doesn't disguise anything. But props to Zoe Kravitz. Not only is she great, but every single time she walks, she's got that like badass walk. No matter what she's doing that walk. She's awesome.
Doing that model on the runway walk, like no matter where she's going.
Good. It's so good.
I felt it was very cat-like.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
There's a shot when all the news breaks and she's there with Falcone, and she's walking and she's kind of like a cat, and there's like a barrier where you can kind of see half of her. So she's kind of just walking closely and peeking in, and just that walk is just so cat-like, I felt.
Question in the chat: did they ever say Catwoman? I don't think they did. I don't know.
No, he refers to her as the cat burglar.
Yeah,
she says later in the movie, "Bat and cat." That's got a ring to it, right?
Yeah,
she's been reading Tom King books.
Well, that's all I could think of. Is I was just like, man, I feel like I went into this with a lot of bias, having read like the most recent real Batman run that I read was the Tom King Batman run, and I feel like going into this movie with that in mind, it's like, oh my God, these two are destined to be together. Every scene that I see them in, it's not. I didn't read it as creepy as I know some other people did. And so I was just like, no, these two are just kind of like star-crossed lovers, like they're meant to be. And it's going to like they're into each other despite all of Batman's awkwardness. Bruce Wayne, kissless virgin. I've never, been around a girl. I don't know how to socialize. And then like Catwoman, who's clearly the most social person you've ever met, can adapt to any situation. Like the two of them coming head to head and just their flirtatiousness, because he doesn't know what to do and she's just trying to be playful, is like absolutely wonderful. Like I rewatched this movie. Like when I first watched it, I was like, oh man, this is great. They're the two of them getting together. It's like very flirtatious. But the second time I watched it, I've heard other people talk about this. It's like Robert Pattinson's Batman and Bruce Wayne are so like socially inept. Like he doesn't know what to do in all of these situations. When she's being very flirtatious, he's just like, I'm stone cold. It's like, no, he's just freezing up because if a very beautiful woman like Zoe Kravitz came face to face with me, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, what's going on? But I would have just been like trying to be solid as a rock, because I've got this mask on that can protect me from the scariness of a beautiful woman. Like that's how I read it the second time going into this, because he's so like, even in the scenes later when in the movie when he's talking to Rael, the mayoral candidate, like he's even awkward with her. Like he doesn't know how to be social, period. So of course he'd be kind of awkward when Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman is coming up to him and being flirtatious and stuff like that. All he knows is violence and anger, and I don't know, she interprets that a little bit differently than I think most people maybe watching the movie did, which I like that a lot, because it worked out really well in the end, as they are, kind of together, but not. It's amazing.
And I
have a theory about the second film being very Bruce Wayne heavy, as he tries to figure out who Bruce Wayne is, because he has just become the Batman. He just really is that person. And so Bruce Wayne will be this facade that he puts on for everyone else. I feel like that might be the first movie, but after watching it again, I'm very tempted to see him go back and tell that first Joker story. Like I feel like there is a path for Batman that the Riddler references. Like he's part of this. Like there is a path for him that the Riddler sees that Batman doesn't see yet. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out. But I feel like maybe he might go back and tell that Joker story from year one. And I don't know why, but after rewatching the movie and seeing that in there, just kind of dropped in, I feel like there's something in that first year that might lead us into the third film that may be a game changer that he doesn't want to tell right away.
I would adore it because we've never seen this on screen, as far as I know, if we got a comic accurate first appearance of the Joker. The whole, like, I'm going to kill this politician at midnight. I mean, that fits into kind of like the look and feel of this, right? Real quick about Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman. And Mike, I so agree with you. She is flirtatious. She is not sexual. And I love that so much. It is unfair to compare her Catwoman with, say, Pfeiffer's Catwoman, because they're doing very different things. Kravitz's Catwoman is just amazing because she is smart. She's brilliant. She has her own agenda, and she's gonna like first and foremost, like that is her goal, right? But she's not overtly sexualized, and I love that. I love it so much.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah. Her goal with Batman is to fluster him, not to like actually try to like have sex with him. Like that's not her goal by any means. I definitely agree. Like, well, I mean, and it plays right into the story. She spent all this time working in this club where that's pretty much the goal. Make these people feel like they're being flirted with, make sure that they're having a good time, but never cross that line, never go further, because otherwise you could end up in a seriously dangerous position. And I think even with Batman, she's like, yeah, I could do that with this guy too. I know he's violent. I know he can do all these things, but I can still walk that line and feel safe because one, she's confident in her abilities to take care of herself. And we see that clearly displayed in the movie multiple times, which I absolutely love. She's the fact that she walks into so many situations, she's just like, I can take care of myself. And she kicks the shit out of anybody that messes with her. It's absolutely perfect. And then to go to Batman, it's like, what is Batman? And she almost gets the better of him multiple times.
Yeah.
And I think had like they not need to be quiet in the mayor's office when they first run into each other, she'd have gotten away easily. Easily. There'd have been nothing there. So I don't know. Like she stuck around just because, like, I love that scene between the two of them because she sticks around just to get that passport. She probably could have coerced it and forced it out of him, but instead she like goes from fighting him and actually kicking and tossing blows to no, give me this back. Like it turns into this different conversation between the two of them where she's like, well, maybe I don't have to fight this guy to get this thing because he's not trying to actually hurt me here. I don't know. There's a lot to, I think, to pull away from just that one scene there.
I really loved their relationship, and I wanted to compare it to the past ones, but they are so different. I mean, Keaton and Pfeiffer, kind of have like a few scenes that are real playful together as both Selena and Bruce and as Batman and Catwoman. But they are so very different.
I love in the comics and in the movies. I really like when Catwoman kind of pulls one on Batman because it lets you know that as whether it's like this super prepared Batman for any contingency or if it's this young Batman that doesn't know any better, no matter how much experience he has as Batman, Catwoman knows what buttons to push. She knows his like blind spots and weak spots, and she's kind of like, but she's never doing it maliciously. I don't think.
Right.
No, it's all fun. It's all fun and games there because it's just a big game.
Even in the Nolan movies, first she steals the pearls, and then she takes his car at the ball. And then Batman's always just kind of left like, oh, fuck, well, okay, I mean, nothing I can do about it. And then this one's the same. Like she even goes and gets the cop, like that corrupt cop. Like she goes and get him on her own. Like she pretty much finds him and gets him and takes him to the top of that building.
Yeah.
And when she realizes that there is a line that Batman won't cross, then that's kind of like when she's got to go and do her own thing. And that's when she tries to go after Falcone, which I like the fact that they kept that stuff from the comics, that she's like his daughter.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. John Turturro is also fantastic. Like,
huge props to Turturro. Yeah, he's great.
Everyone in this movie just fucking brought it. But one of the things I love is during that funeral scene, we get so we saw some of this stuff, like the press leaked and Zoe Kravitz was at the funeral scene, but that was just a big fake out by Matt Reeves, which I love that the studios are kind of weaponizing all this like paparazzi and people trying to find stuff against us, because he also had Barry Keoghan, who plays the inmate. He had him dressed up as a cop in the funeral scene, walking around, so like people would get pictures of him. So all these little misdirects.
Oh, interesting.
But the one with Zoe Kravitz, that was a big surprise because I thought that was going to be her at the funeral, not her friend.
Right.
Just because of all the press and everything we'd seen before, right? But to you guys' earliest point, like, yeah, these Catwomen are really different. Other than Halle Berry, I don't, which if you want to know more about how we feel,
Catwoman movie, did anyone actually watch that movie? Oh,
I've never seen it.
We had a whole show about it. So
they sold one Blu-ray copy, and it's to Clay. That's it, just one.
No, it is not Blu-ray. It is a DVD.
It's a
you want to know how
VCR
we feel about
copy.
Catwoman 2004? Go back and listen or watch our other episode on worst
About
comic
the
book
very
movies.
last VHS copy of Catwoman that was available, right?
I gotta say, man, the basketball scene is like one of my favorite comic book scenes. It is the most ridiculous thing in the world to watch Catwoman play basketball with a bunch of kids and run around and do nothing important to the story.
Wait, is she dressed up as Catwoman when she does this?
No, she's
Okay.
just
She's
whoever.
dressed up with Halle Berry.
Yeah, she's Halle Berry.
This is actually they didn't actually mean to put that in the movie, but Halle Berry just started playing basketball with kids and they started rolling the camera.
And it was so much better than the footage of her acting as Catwoman.
Hey, you leave Pitoff as the one that made all that happen. But anyway, back to the Batman, because we could rag on Catwoman for a while.
I still say it's a must see for if you watch comic book movies, watch Catwoman with Halle Berry. It's just
and then watch
insanely
Elektra.
ridiculous. Then watch
And
Elektra.
then watch the Spirit.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
You should have been on our last show.
Yeah, I caught a piece of that. Yeah,
And then that's how you make people hate comics. So
That's how you make people be like, "Oh, you think Morbius is the worst movie?" Well, let me tell you.
hold my
Frank.
beer.
I mean, the greatest con Marvel could have done would I guess it would have been working with Sony to make it seem like Jared Leto was the star of Morbius and him never appear in it.
That would have been a great April Fool's joke.
Oh man, Jared Leto's in the first 2 minutes, and then after that, it's just all CG.
Yeah.
With a different voice actor and everything because the vampirism took over, right?
Yep.
I do want to bring up Alfred, because I think he was as limited as his role was in the movie compared to everyone else. Like just fucking great. Just the really good character. I love every scene that he's in with Bruce Wayne. Like the breakfast scene, I love it because it really gives you a lot of like Robert Pattinson's, like, I don't know, like he's really become acclimated to this nightlife, so like he can't even be out in public.
Put sunglasses on. He's like blinking at the sunlight.
But it lets you know, like, Alfred, not only does he truly care, and not only is he super capable, because he started working on the riddles, right?
I love it. I love it.
Which is so
refers
cool.
back to the war when he worked in like crypto. So
you can understand like how this, how Bruce could have learned so much from him. But at this point, I think Bruce is still, I don't know that he doesn't consider him a father figure. He just isn't willing to accept that, I think, at this point. Because when he gives him the cufflinks, like, there's a little remark that I hated. I was like, oh, I was so angry at Bruce. Like,
I know.
Like,
broke
something
my
like
heart.
to the effect of, you think you're a Wayne or something like that. And I was like, you asshole.
Yeah.
But I think that's what Matt Reeves is doing, is defining every relationship in here. Even though he's grown up with Alfred, he's defining that relationship that he's still wary of him, but he loves him. He sits in the hospital and waits for him. But then he questions him about everything he's taught him. So, I mean, there is this weird balance of figuring out who he is through Alfred. But again, Andy Serkis and him did all the Planet of the Apes together. So I think we may see a little bit of Alfred in this, but he's always going to matter to the story and be used in important scenes. And
I think you can tell the desperation that Pattinson or Batman feels as he has to drive home because he knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh God, that's so good.
I love that scene. And usually, like, that whole orphanage thing is kind of where I've told people that's a good stopping point if you really need to take a break from the movie. After that whole car sequence and the interrogation with the Joker and the Spanish lesson, which I love, that's where I think you can pause the movie. That's a great intermission spot.
Yeah.
But then they have this conversation at the hospital. And he lets him know, like, you are, like, do see you as a father, which is like a kind of a redemption from the beginning. Like, okay,
it's so unsaid though. Like, so many things are unsaid in that moment, but like. You have to read the scene with all of the last few moments in context, because if you watch that scene by itself, it feels like nothing is said. But like with the last 10 minutes in context, you're like, so many things are unsaid but are felt between the two of them. Like, and just the gesture of the hand coming off of the bed and Bruce grabbing it, like, says so much without them saying it, and I'm like, part of me is like, I just want you to say I love you, Dad, but like I get that it's too on the nose for this movie.
And oh, I'm sorry, Danny, go ahead.
No, just one last point. And earlier we talked about how Matt Reeves puts a lot of the things that he does are very clear and very like, there's not a lot of, it's just very straightforward. But then we have scenes like that where it's like you really have to pay attention and make sure that you're understanding what's going on. So I think it's just amazing that he could do both things and so easily, like just integrated into the movie so naturally. But yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Well, no, I was gonna say I think that's kind of Reeves's brilliance, right? Is that he's able to be both direct but also very, very subtle. And even though I wanted more Alfred in the movie, the fact that he's able in just the few scenes that Serkis is in as Alfred to create a narrative through line is kind of brilliant, right? You go from like the petulant Bruce Wayne at the beginning to at the end, like him admitting, yes, you know, you are like a father to me. And I didn't even think about it until this moment, but the moment when Serkis wakes up and he kind of like looks over at Bruce, the fact that Bruce is even there is telling about that. He's not out as Batman, like trying to fight crime. He's like, he is there for Alfred, right? Did anyone else, and this may lead us into maybe a whole side thing we can ignore or not, but there's so many subtle callbacks in this movie. So the scene when he's driving, and again, to Reeves' credit, we don't hear him. It's just silent. He's driving to try and go save Alfred. He's just like,
I love it.
You know, it reminded me so much of Infinite Crisis, right? When Batman and Robin are in the car and Tim realizes his dad is in danger and he's like, can we get there any faster? I remember reading that and my heart just stopped and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so nervous right now, right? And I had the exact same feeling in that scene. Like, are there other callbacks you guys picked up on that stood out to you?
Oh, the end scene where I guess the reflection of water and Catwoman, everything kind of seemed like it was from Batman Returns, the same setting. But take Falcone out and put in Shrek, and it's kind of the same deal. There are shots of her, of Catwoman, and on her face are kind of the reflections of water, the same way I saw it in Batman Returns. God, there was so much from Batman Returns. I kept saying, going, oh, that and that and that, and now I'm sitting here going, well, there was that.
And then and things like that make me wonder, like, because I know Tim Burton wasn't, unlike some of the other directors, I've never heard that he really has like a specific comic run that he kind of based his movies on. Like, we know a lot about Nolan's, like, you know, they pretty much pulled from very similar books, specifically The Long Halloween, both of them. But like, I don't know that Tim Burton did that. So like when there's a callback like that, like, they're not both referencing the same thing, so they could be referencing each other's movies, or Matt Reeves could be referencing the earlier Batman movies, which I think is still pretty cool. Like, just to know that all these things can kind of build on top of each other, especially because Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman this year or later, maybe next year, depending on how the delays happen. I think in two different properties, in the Flashpoint thing and in the Batgirl movie. So,
that's right. I forgot he was going to be in Batgirl.
Yeah, so it's fucking insane that all this time later.
I did also take, like, when he goes to the Bat Cave the first time and you get the little wall dropping down, it seemed like a clear reference to the Batman TV show, right? Yeah. I mean, it's like, it was like little touches like that aren't, again, they're not overt. They're just, and they work in world. It's not like a super like fan service kind of thing, but little touches that seem to be like, yeah, let's make a callback here.
Those scenes in the motorcycle where Nirvana just is playing in the background, he does them twice. He does it at the beginning and then closer to the end. But I love just riding around the streets of, I don't know, Chicago or Liverpool or where the fuck they shot those things. Like, I love that. And then that's a Nirvana song that I had never really heard of. Like, I'm pretty familiar with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it wasn't until the first trailer, I believe it was the first trailer at DC Fandom where they play that song. And then from then it just kind of took off, and it's fucking everywhere now because people, I mean, it's a fucking great song.
The thing about that Reeves does so well in those scenes with Bruce riding around on the bike is, and in the car, like, every time they're like in every other movie, you would expect to hear car sounds and city sounds and stuff, and they just get rid of all of it, and it's just music, and it's so much more impactful. Like it would have been great to hear Robert Pattinson scream. Like there's multiple times where he's silenced while he's screaming, doing something, you know, like even when he's hanging near the end and he goes to chop the thing, and he's like, ah, like it's dead silent with him. Instead, it's just whatever music is playing, because you don't need all of that real life sound to understand what's going on. Like if you're in the movie, and at that point in the movie, I'm in the movie, right? Like I can't look away. Like you don't need all those extra sounds. It's almost overwhelming. And instead that music becomes so much more powerful. Like that Nirvana song is only stuck in my head because it's the only thing I could hear in those scenes. No engine revvings, no look how fucking cool and loud this car can be. I mean, those moments are perfect because there is no other sound than the music. And like, don't get me wrong, love hearing the car engine revs when they're doing the big chase scene. Like we got to talk about that at least at some point, just because it sounds so cool and it's so loud and overwhelming. Like I had to turn my computer down for a minute just because it was so loud. I remember sitting in the theater just being like blown back into my chair because like just everything is coming at me at 1,000,000 miles an hour. But those scenes with the music are so great because of that. And that Nirvana song just clicks with the way that they cut things and the way that it was all paced. It felt super great. I have to applaud them for that.
Well, let's go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
Sorry, just real quick, I was going to say, Mike and Daniel, would you say that Reeves's use of that song is better or greater than any time Snyder's used a song?
Equal.
Greater.
Better.
I don't know. Hallelujah. They're pretty
Snyder uses literal.
No,
like he can't find meaning.
I know, that's the thing.
There is one exception, and that is the opening to Watchmen, and that like you again.
Yeah, that
talk
is good.
about all-time intros for a movie. Say what you will about Watchmen, but all-time intros for a movie, man, Watchmen is up there.
Mike knows how to earn a guest spot, like for sure.
I'm not gonna blanket say that all of Snyder's work is bad. There are some things that guy is magnificent at, and that is opening a movie. I think he does a fantastic job. Completing a movie, we can talk about that.
Well, next week, Mike replaces Josh on the Next Issue podcast.
Let me set up with a clip, but we will talk about that car scene.
Psycho! I got
I got up out of my chair. I was dancing around. That's the best moment in the whole movie, as far as I'm concerned.
And it's straight from Furious 6 when Dom shoots out of an exploding airplane at the end of the film.
Yes. Have you ever seen something so crazy in your rearview mirror that as you're driving 90 down the highway, you got to turn around and look over your shoulder?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it all, and the scene's a lot longer. Obviously, I can't show that. Like I'm just afraid of that HBO is going to cancel our show.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But very much French Connection inspired. I mean, it's fantastic.
So much stuff. Like just all the like that's another thing. Like I can't wait for the Blu-ray to just check out. There better be like a full hour on how this scene was made. Like because I know Matt Reeves has said a lot of this stuff was practical. And that means you only get like 1 or 2 shots at a big explosion like that. Yeah. They're flipping over trailers. Like that was one of the fun things about watching the behind the scenes of The Dark Knight. Just how they made that trailer flip over, or how they built the miniature tunnels so they could have the little Batmobile blow up. Like that was a real Batmobile, the tumbler. Like all that stuff was super cool behind the scenes stuff. So this one I can't wait because Matt Reeves is an awesome filmmaker. But I think what really sells this chase is Colin Farrell. Like the fact that the camera is just like right there on his face, like come looking at you from the rear view mirror at the angle almost, and then how he looks, and then there's another camera that he attaches to the side of the car, which kind of looks back and front. That's just such cool angles and big explosions, and I love that whole thing. I would hate to be stuck in traffic after that scene, but I fucking like that was
that is a normal day in Texas on 635.
Right.
Yeah. I did. You know, the way that they set up that whole sequence at the end is, you know, you're getting all these like 18 wheelers like cramming them in, and you get just a split second shot where you see that trailer pop down, and I literally cheered. I'm like, yes, like, as you see, they're explaining how he's gonna just fucking just jump over everything. I was like, yeah.
That whole scene is made for me by Colin Farrell's like performance in that moment, whereas he's screaming, "I got you!" Like his voice is cracking, like he's like. It's such a realistic depiction of someone like just blown out of their mind with adrenaline as something's happening, and he's so satisfied that he managed to get things, which is why he's an amazing Oswald Cobblepot, right? That they only call Oz throughout the whole movie. I can't wait to see how he continues forward with this character, because I feel like he's already nefarious and slimy, and I think it's only going to get worse once the power goes to his head now. But still, his whole depiction in that moment is what sells it, because the moment, like that split second moment as him realizing that, oh no, this isn't done, is priceless. Absolutely priceless.
I can see a WB exec after watching the movie like, oh yeah, give that motherfucker a series. Like he needs his own HBO series, right?
No, we don't need more TV shows.
They did. They're making so there's two Gotham based series. One's going to be Arkham based, and the other one's going to be based around the Penguin, which I don't think
really?
Mike.
Yeah, I thought they were doing GCPD.
No, GCPD got canceled, and that's being
Arkham. Yeah, they already did that. It was called Gotham, and it was perfect. Don't you remember?
That's true.
Well, I want that Penguin then, because he was great.
He was a great Penguin.
When they do a Flashpoint, like they got to bring all these various DC like iterations together, right? We got to get the CW Barry, we got to get the Gotham Penguin, we got to get all of them together, right?
I don't think that DC can pull that off. Yeah, they can do it on TV, but they can't do it in the movies. I don't think they'll ever have a crisis like film.
Then what's been the point of all of this? You know,
entertainment and money.
I know.
I don't think we've ever gotten a bad portrayal of the Riddler or of the Penguin. I think 66 Penguin was fucking great. Danny DeVito was amazing. I would have him come back too. Like, fuck yeah, bring Danny DeVito back.
I would say DeVito's Penguin is maybe the most divisive, because at first I hated him in that movie, and then by the end I'm like, oh, this is brilliant, right? Like, but you have to really. You have to just kind of accept the Penguin as DeVito approaches him in that movie as this weird fish-eating guy. I mean,
he's a cartoon, right?
He is, yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. There really hasn't been just an overly terrible version of the Penguin.
The Gotham, great Penguin. Like,
fantastic!
Great. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'll check, but I'm pretty sure that we're getting two shows based on this movie after that. So we'll see. And I'm not mad.
I just thought it was just one show.
Peacemaker rule that, so like I don't keep making fucking shows at a comic book adaptations are better in a long form like miniseries format anyways. At least in my opinion. I think these movies captured great moments. Yeah. But if you want to do like more character based work like they did with Peacemaker, you need to do it in a place where you can expand that story a little bit more. Right. Otherwise, we'll end up with like 4-hour movies, which are great. I mean, as we've seen before.
All right, I did like the 4-hour cut way better than the theatrical cut.
I did too. Yeah, but it wasn't a 4-hour movie. It was a 5-episode series slammed in together into a movie format, right?
Yeah. Or alternatively, it was 5 music videos with little snippets of superhero action interspersed in there.
Sure.
Because as I said at the time, if you took out all the slow-mo, that movie's like 90 minutes. So,
but you can always add more slow-mo. This is how we make the show 2 hours.
Are you saying, Danny, that the Flash movie is actually only going to take place over like 10 minutes in real time, but it's actually just slow-mo the entire time? Like,
pretty much.
Is that what I'm hearing? Right? Like the Flash's movie, it takes place over 10 minutes real time, but it's going to be him in the Speed Force, like for an hour and a half, and that's actually the whole.
That
movie.
is
It's just him on a
conceptually
treadmill.
Yeah.
It's not a treadmill.
It's just him on a treadmill the whole time, and then at the end it said "Brought to you by Peloton."
The opening is just them reusing that hot dog vendor scene from from the Snyder Cut.
If it's a Peloton, Barry might die.
Yeah.
Come on, faster!
I mean, we saw for anybody that watched that Sex and the Series movie. I mean, no spoilers, but I think that's how they killed one of their characters by having him after the Peloton. He just fucking had a heart attack and died. So.
I mean, these are all
good
real properties at the end of the day, right? So like, it's possible.
Yeah, true. Oh my god!
Now, am I the only one that was Team Riddler? I mean, I kind of wanted him to wreak havoc and destroy everything, and he was very successful. I love the state of Gotham and what he's done.
I'm just not big on influencers.
He wasn't an influencer. Only 500 fringe followers.
Whoa, listen, we only have 600 subscribers. Let's not start talking shit about somebody with 500, right?
I mean,
I think, like, the Riddler.
I think that there is something to be said about what the point of a lot of the movie, right, was, and Catwoman comes out and says it, like, oh, people only care about these white privileged assholes, right? Like, and when you think about it, this is exactly the same thing that the Riddler was getting at. People only care about the rich people of this city. They care about Bruce Wayne. They don't care about me. They don't care about the 30, 40, 100, 200 other kids that are in his exact same situation, with the only difference being money. Like, I agree with his message to a certain point. The thing is, like, the way he decided to get back at Gotham was extreme violence and murder. And I think there's a handful of different ways you could have found that were better than
he tried the system, and the system spit him out.
I don't know. I see. There's more to the backstory that I want to know, like, what he did before. Because, like, oh my God.
Gotham is a shithole.
Danny, I think you're gonna have to get me out of this whole episode.
Gotham is run by corrupt people, and Batman is going to have to become Superman to make a difference.
Except I feel like the critical moment, as all of you have pointed out, is that flare scene at the end. That is the moment where Batman realizes, I am here to save everybody in the city. Now, granted, it's a lot of people who were at the new elected mayor's, election party. So you can kind of question, like, what's the socioeconomic status of those people? But it was out in the square, right? So ostensibly it's open to everyone. So he's there to save the people of Gotham. So I feel like that was the critical turning point for him.
That in the moment when, Gordon comes into the club and they're arresting Falcone, and they come out and he's like, I own this whole city. And he's like, maybe not all of us. Like, there's a moment where they're like, not all of Gotham is ruined. And there are plenty of people, not just dozens, hundreds of people that are willing to put themselves on the line for what is right. And I think at the end of the day, the Riddler's point is that he never sought out the people that could help him. Instead, he assumed that everyone was out to get him, and thus he turned inward to say, only I can fix this with my way, rather than like reaching out for others. Batman's in that exact same position, but he has the advantage of knowing one person, which is Gordon, right? And and Alfred, who are like, there are other ways to do this. And Batman kept saying, no, there isn't. I have to do things my way. He says that to Gordon, I think, twice in the movie. I got to do this my way. And at the end of the day, it proves that that's kind of wrong. Like, his way of hyper violence isn't the way to do things. And he's, again, right there on the other side of the line with the Riddler. And if anything had gone wrong, he could have become the Riddler, right? So as much as I think what the Riddler was getting at is right, the way he went about change was wrong. I guess that's where I'm at with it. I understand where you're coming from, Clay. I get it.
I mean, you see the money pumped into the system through renewal being manipulated by the people in power, and you just see that in government every day. I mean, people talk about how Biden's making everything so much better. I don't see shit. He's making it better for certain people who make certain amounts of money. But
trickle-down economics failed Gotham.
Yeah, trickle-down economics was the Waynes pissing on the poor people of Gotham.
Right.
Josh, do you have something? Because I do want to get to a wrapping up point. In the
yeah, sure. I was just gonna say that. Fuck, I lost it.
We'll come back around if you. So I just want to talk about like just any final thoughts, and then the kind of talk about the last scene, like the last sequence of like this whole thing being like, I guess the reveal of Riddler's real plan, which that's where the movie feels like, okay, now we're really into just the full on comic book movie. But Josh, did it come back? We'll start with you if you want.
Well, yeah, sure. It was one criticism of the movie, and maybe the novel. Yeah, all right, I'm out. No, it's one criticism of the film, and maybe the novel deals with it, but it shouldn't have to. And that is, I found it a little disingenuous how often Gordon was surprised how corrupt his colleagues were. And this is something I think the comic year one does really well, is he's in the thick of it and he knows, and he's sticking by his conviction. And here he just kind of seems like, really, that guy too? And I'm like, come on, man, how did no one ever reach out to you yet to like try and like buy you off? So that kind of made no sense to me. And I don't know if maybe that's something they can deal with in the sequel, or maybe that's in the book. But yeah, exactly. In year one, that is a subplot, is that Gordon is attempting to not follow the corruption that is so endemic in Gotham.
I love Messicelli. I'm sorry. I'm just.
Oh no, I do too.
Danny's just reading comics over here. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway.
I totally agree with you there, because I think that it should have been more obvious to a detective who is supposedly as good as Gordon, right?
Right.
I mean, that being said, he couldn't figure out stuff like thumb drive and all the other little bits and pieces that Batman had to like spoon feed him a couple of times. But even still, I agree, because I think even in like Gary Oldman's Gordon knew that he was surrounded by corrupt cops, and that's why he had to get his like super elite squad in the Nolan films. And I like that portrayal. Maybe in the future movies, like we said, Gordon's going to be a little bit more on edge and be a little less trusting of his colleagues and stuff, even with the people that he knew he could trust coming to him at the end. But yeah, totally agree with you on that.
Yep. So one quick question for everyone, I guess. I love the theories online that the thing that he shoots up with at the end is Venom.
I thought that too, actually.
I thought that too.
I had that same thought.
So, because the Venom story is actually something that leads up to the Cataclysm and then the No Man's Land in the comics. So it feels like, I mean, they've pretty much set up both Cataclysm and No Man's Land. Like with Gotham being in the state there is, it could pivot either way. Mm-hmm. But they could also go into the Venom story later, just because I think it was just adrenaline.
I think so too.
It was bright green. If it was just adrenaline, Danny,
I know.
I totally was Mike. It was Venom. It was Venom.
I've never seen adrenaline, so I don't know what color it is.
But that's like it's so like not called out, right? Like it's so he just pulls this thing out and injects it into it. He opens a little thing on his leg. Like, come on, it's Bane. It's Bane. Just say it's Bane. Just give me Bane. Just say that it's Bane, Reeves. Come on.
Man, that's a bold move though, to go after a character that was done so well by Tom Hardy. I mean, because I think Bane.
Schumacher.
Yeah. I mean, really, that Bane stands out as probably the best portrayal of him, and what he stands for is pretty great. But then again, that would fit in this world of what people are fighting for. Mm-hmm. I just find it neat that in both Moon Knight and in Batman, the millionaire playboy personality isn't what anyone wants anymore. They want
because then otherwise people may start siding with the villain, Clay. They'll start yelling Team Riddler or Team Bushman or Team Hero.
But then again, you call them villains.
Yeah, no, I get it. That was
I through 3/4 of Black Panther was siding with Killmonger. So it's like, I mean,
Killmonger.
Killmonger had valid points.
He did. He absolutely had valid points.
That's all we'll say. All right. Is there any final thoughts on the Batman? I do want to talk a little bit about our comics this week mainly. But just while you guys think about that, the Penguin is set to shoot the HBO Max series is starting shooting in June. They'll start filming that. It will follow that we made in this film. And then the Arkham series, as of April 12th, which is when I'm reading this article, that's still on track as well. So those are the two shows. So they did scrap Gotham Central type of show.
It's a bummer.
But they look to be doing this show instead of Arkham, which I think could still have a lot of Jeffrey Wright's Gordon and some of the other police characters that we're familiar with. But they introduced Hugo Strange.
What villains do they have in Arkham as of this movie?
Only Joker and them. But if it gives them a chance, okay. So here's my theory. All right, I think, and I'm okay with this if this is the case. If the Penguin series is dealing with the aftermath of Falcone's ending, right? And Penguin rebuilding it and setting up the state of Gotham for Batman 2, I'm cool with that. If the Arkham show ends up being like, not really a monster of the week, but kind of there to explain what Batman's doing in the interim between the two films, and maybe the crazies start to come out and they get put into Arkham, that would be cool as well. As long as both series are kind of setting up the next movie so there doesn't need to be a novel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like you watch the series and then you go straight to the film. So,
but what if I don't want to watch this show before I watch the next movie, though?
I know, and that was my problem with the second Cat movie. Was I was watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the time, and I learned it ties directly into it. And then I was like, well, crap, I can't continue watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. until I go see Captain America. So yes, I totally agree with you, Mike. Yeah. That is a risk. So yeah.
I will say, I think with this movie, we have to keep in mind that Arkham, they I don't know that they retconned it, but they have touched on this in some storylines in the comics. Arkham is also part of the legacy of the Wayne family through Martha's side, right? So I think even though Batman may not be directly involved, I think it'll still affect him. So I don't know. I'm interested. I think Arkham could make a.
Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
No, I was just gonna say can make an interesting show. So.
Well, give us an Arkham show. I mean, do we know if it's going to follow supervillains? Give us an Arkham show that's about the history of Arkham. Pull it straight from that Grant Morrison storyline, right? Where it's all about like how Arkham was this thing based off of like a madman's, drive to create like a healthy place, but he ends up going crazy because of it. And then at some point, maybe Batman has to go and, confront the past of his family's heritage, right? Like, cool. Like, awesome. Build that show up. And then make that Batman 3 or something as he goes into the Arkham Asylum to fight all these villains that he's put away through the Gotham TV show or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a good chance to maybe highlight some villains that we haven't seen on screen at all, like Scarface, some Mad Hatter, some real mental cases in therapy. When we kind of know who they are, once you take away some of the comic elements, I mean, it would be tough for a guy to pull off a Scarface, unless they're really twisted and mental. I really don't know who that actor is that could pull out a ventriloquist doll and make you believe that he's crazy and the doll is running the show.
Reeves has proven, I think, with this film that he can do that. And that's where his specialty really lies, right? Yeah, I agree. And I think also what makes this portrayal of Batman interesting is that the outcome of the film is that his parents are fallible, right? You get the whole thing about his mom kind of having the mental issues and going to Arkham. His father's clearly didn't follow through in his promise, right? I mean, it's like there's so many things. And so, yeah, if those shows can deal with that, especially Arkham, I think they'll be really fascinating. So,
see, I'm getting the vibe that the Arkham name comes from Martha's side of the family and not from anyone else, that maybe her...
I thought they said that in the film.
Yeah,
right?
they did.
They did.
But meaning in that they buy or they create Arkham for her mental illness. And so that's always a shadow of the Wayne name in Gotham is you have Renewal and Arkham.
Yeah,
make it like the Arkham Asylum by Morrison and McKean, where there's very little Batman because McKean didn't really want to draw superheroes. He just wanted to do cool shit. That's a tease for an upcoming plug.
You're reading my mind, Danny.
Right.
Yeah.
Quick comment on the chat. I would never want Batwoman canceled, even no matter how much I like the show. We'll probably talk about that later on in the once we get through all the cancellations. Not today, maybe in a different show, but very sad for all the cancellations for CW.
Do we know if the Batgirl film is in this Reeves universe or is it in a different one? I don't think
so. No, because it has. That's where we'll see a different Batman, right? And we'll see.
That's the key.
And we'll actually see what's his name, the other Commissioner Gordon from Justice League. J. Jonah Jameson. What's his name?
Jameson.
Yeah, I forget the name of the actor, but
Jameson. That's all I can think of.
Yeah, I know, it'll be a weird. That's gonna be an interesting movie. I'm pretty excited for that. But yeah, overall, I mean, fuck, I love this movie. I'm very glad we could be here for another 3 hours, probably talking about it.
Yeah.
We may revisit it or do a bigger roundtable. I think it's gonna be something that's gonna be fun to talk about in the future as well.
So like a 6 months retrospective where like you come back after not seeing it for 6 months and then rewatch and talk about it, you know.
So